The start of December marks Georgia's Winter Preparedness Week. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb. Here at 11Alive, our weather impact team is looking ahead to whether or not we'll have any winter weather threats in Georgia in the coming months. We've put together this special feature on 11Alive Plus to help you be knowledgeable about how winter weather can impact our area, how we predict snow and ice, and some new weather alerts you need to be aware of this winter season. First, let's talk about North Georgia's baseline for winter weather. What is normal? When do we usually see our first freeze? And do we always see snow? For that, let's turn to meteorologist Danielle Moss.
Well, the first day of meteorological winter begins on December the 1st, and we have already had our fair share of cold weather coming into the state of Georgia. Usually throughout winter, starting on December 1st, our average high temperature is near 60 degrees, but this year it has been unseasonably cold. Now, as you prepare for your January, those high temperature, the average for January 1st is right around 55 degrees, and we will stay cold as we head into February. It won't be until March the 1st that we really start to see that average high temperature get back into the mid 60s. Believe it or not, we have already had our first freeze for 2024, and that happened on November the 30th. Average time is November the 16th, but we definitely beat it this year. Last year in 2023, our average first freeze was on November 29th, and every year it just gets closer and closer to the end of November, early December. Now, we have been fighting the frigid air already. Now, as you prepare for those low temperatures, what does that mean? When you wake up, the morning lows are very, very cold. Average for around December, near 40 to 42 degrees. Now, it has definitely been a very cold start to meteorological winter, but as we head throughout the rest of the month, things look to be slightly warmer. Now, for your January, things will start to get cooler, and just like always, it will be March once again before we start to return to some normalcy with those low temperatures. Now, let's talk about a little bit of snow. In Atlanta, the average snowfall every year for winter is around 2.2 inches. Well, the good news is in the last few years, we have not collected even an inch. In fact, the most is half of an inch, and that was in 2021 through 2022. So snowfall not really making an effect on Atlanta, and I know that we are super happy about that. Here's a look at your top 9 or top 10 Atlanta snowiest winters. The first one in 1935 collected more than 10 inches of snow in Atlanta, and things just declined from there. But that is just so much snow to even imagine about. And the good news is with snow, that means that we need precipitation. And as of right now, our NOAA winter precipitation outlook shows that we should be drier than average. So it looks like that snow chance will be less than normal for this time and this winter ahead.
This winter, a La Nina is forecast to drive the winter outlook. Believe it or not, temperatures of the ocean water all the way over to the Pacific can impact our weather patterns here in the Southeast. Meteorologist Melissa Nord explains how.
NOAA released our 2024-2025 winter outlook this morning, and they're calling for overall warmer than average conditions here in Georgia for December, January, and February, but also not just warmer, a little bit drier weather as well. You can see on the map these tan shades. That means higher than normal odds of a drier than normal winter. So how do they come up with these numbers? How do they come up with this forecast? They're looking at what's happening with the El Nino Southern Oscillation, which is something that's happening actually in the oceans with the ocean temperatures, not in the Atlantic or in the Gulf of Mexico, but rather in the Pacific Ocean close to the equator. Right now, those temperatures are very close to normal, but we expect them to turn cooler in the months ahead, making a La Nina developing, and that La Nina ends up driving what's happening with our jet stream patterns here across the United States. So in La Nina winters, we typically see much more active storm track through the Pacific Northwest, down into the Midwest as well, and the Great Lakes. But here across the Southeast, our southern jet is a lot less active. So this means overall drier than normal conditions and warmer than average conditions. But with that being said, like we're seeing now, we can still see cold snaps, and we can also see wetter patterns as well.
As Melissa mentioned, we can still see cold air outbreaks even though as a whole this winter may be milder than average. This winter there are some new alerts the National Weather Service may be issuing when we get really cold. Meteorologist Chesley McNeil explains what those changes are.
National Weather Service now changing its criteria when it comes to issuing winter alerts. We are used to wind chill watches, wind chill warnings, and wind chill advisories. That is now changed from a wind chill watch to an extreme cold watch. Wind chill warnings, now extreme cold warnings, and wind chill advisories now become cold weather advisories. And this is just to get us away from the notion that we need wind with the cold air to have impacts on the body. Hey, cold is cold, of course, and so you don't need the wind necessarily to have those impacts. In fact, extreme cold watch issued when dangerous cold air with or without wind is possible, or a extreme cold warning when dangerous cold air with or without wind is expected. So warnings are issued when the cold air is expected, watches when it is possible. Doesn't mean that we won't have impacts from the wind and the cold. Of course, that creates a very dangerous wind chill. When we talk about wind chill, well, the body itself creates a warm layer. That would be moisture, a thin layer of moisture that's on your skin. That acts as a protectant for us. When you have those winds whipping quite rapidly, well, it evaporates that layer of skin, that moisture that's on your skin. Once that evaporates, it makes it feel a lot colder on the outside, and that can start to get to you internally, and that could cause hypothermia in a lot of spots. Now, if the winds are faster and evaporates faster, that means hypothermia could set in much faster, maybe 10 minutes being outside alone, and that would create the warning that we have. If it's an advisory, it's about 30 minutes. So looking at the area when these things are issued, if it's at 5 degrees or below up to the north or North Georgia mountains, that's when you'll get these extreme cold alerts issued. If it's at 0 or below, that's the way it feels on your exposed skin, that's when an extreme cold alert will be issued for the metro area. South of us, 5 degrees or below, that's when it could be issued.
When we have cold air outbreaks, we have to watch for moisture in the models that would have to line up and time out perfectly with cold air in order to produce wintry weather. And forecasting winter weather here can be very tricky. So oftentimes when we're looking at the models, we look for pattern recognition. Maybe 7 to 10 days out, we might see something on the models where we say, okay, we may see some snow or an ice setup moving into our area. And we would determine whether or not that's favorable weather pattern for winter weather. And we would just keep an eye on it. Then, if that holds together 5 to 7 days out, we would look to see if that pattern is trending up or trending down, meaning whether or not it'd be more likely or less likely for an actual winter weather event to set up. Then, if that holds together 3 to 5 days out, we really start focusing on the timing and what type of winter weather that we could have, whether or not it would be snow, sleet, or even an ice storm that could be developing. And if that holds together, then if we get between 1 to 3 days out, that's when we can be a little more specific on the forecast details of how much snow or how much ice we could get, the location of it, and also the timing. So here are a couple of setups that we watch for with different types of winter weather. First, when we have a wedge developing in the wintertime, that would be an area of high pressure well up to the north of us. The flow around that would bring in a shallow layer of cold air out of the surface that would come out of the north and to the east. And that shallow layer of cold air could often have warmer air up above it and more moist air up above it. And if there's enough moisture there, the air up above would be warm enough for that to be a liquid or to be rain. But as that falls into that shallow layer of cold air at the surface, that's when we could get a setup for ice developing or an ice storm. The other setup we have to watch for is for snow. And at times, we could see accumulating snow. Those situations are mainly when we see an area of low pressure developing in the Gulf of Mexico. And the position of that low is very important to determine what type of winter weather we would have or if it would be all rain. If that low traveled up into Alabama and moved up toward the north and east, we would be in the warmer sector here if that low stayed over to the west of us, and that would be more of a rain event for us, and it would keep the snow or sleet over to the west. However, if that low travels up into parts of central Georgia or south Georgia, and we have cold air to the north, and the low moves in this direction, That would send moisture into that colder air, and that would be a setup more for some sleet or snow for us, and that would keep the rain down into central and also into South Georgia. So as you know, here with the 11Alive Weather Impact Team, we issue alerts for impactful weather. And in the wintertime, that could mean issuing an alert for significant cold, or if any metro Atlanta area sees snow or ice, or if in the North Georgia mountains we could see accumulating snow, those would be the events in the wintertime when we would issue a weather impact alert. Now, sometimes these setups are not all snow or all rain, but it could be a wintry mix. For more on that, here's meteorologist Nicole Hartford.
When we're forecasting for wintry precipitation, we're often forecasting not only for just snow or rain, but a wintry mix of rain as well as freezing rain, sleet, and snow. When we have these cold fronts that come in and lead to these wintry precipitation events, here's our cloud cover and then the ground. Above us, there is a lot of air. And as you go up in the atmosphere, the temperature of that air changes. On a typical day ahead of a cold front, we have warm air at the surface, and then as you get up higher in the atmosphere, there's a column of cold air. So when it starts to rain or snow, rain and snow at the higher levels of the atmosphere will melt, falling as rainfall. Enter our cold front. This comes in and saturates the air, making it colder at the surface and then working its way up. So at first, this cold air is only at the surface. So snow falls, it melts, it comes down as rain, and then it freezes upon contact. As that colder air rises up in the atmosphere, we have snow that falls, turns to rainfall, and then transitions into sleet. This process continues, eventually leading to snowfall that falls and stays as snowfall. Now, no matter the type of wintry precipitation, when we have these snow or rainfall events and temperatures fall down below freezing through the overnight hours, whatever type of precipitation has fallen often leads to a thin layer of ice on the roadways that we call black ice. It's not actually black, it's just so thin that it appears transparent. And this can often be the most dangerous type of ice on the roadways because it's impossible to see.
Meteorological winter is here, and it is a great time to prepare your home for the cold and wintry precipitation that could come in the months ahead. Joining me now is Rachel Gauthier, a meteorologist with the Insurance Institute of Business and Home Safety, to talk about easy preps to do right now. Rachel, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Melissa.
So the Atlanta area doesn't always see big blockbuster storms each winter, but we see a higher frequency of cold air outbreaks. So what is the best way to winterize your home now and help it hold in the warm air and keep the cold air out in the winter months ahead?
Yeah, winter weather doesn't always make the same headlines as things like tornadoes and severe thunderstorms, but winter weather can cause damage, particularly when we get those long duration sub-freezing temperatures, ones that can cause power outages. Then they do typically start to make headlines. We also see winter precipitation in the form of snow, sleet, and ice. And two of the big things that we see as far as property damage in the winter months is going to be leaky roofs and frozen pipes. Both of those can cause interior water damage, and those are both a big source of damage and can cause insurance claims during the winter months. And, again, they don't always make headlines, but we've already seen about $60 million in damage just this year alone from winter weather. So now is going to be the best time to go ahead and start preparing for those coldest temperatures that tend to come later into December, January, and February.
And let's talk about pipes. I mean, 2 years ago, it was the week of Christmas, we had pipe bursting cold here. Let's talk about interior pipes versus exterior pipes. When we're talking about those outdoor spigots and hoses and everything, what are the easiest ways people can prepare for sub-freezing temperatures with those?
Yeah, checking on your pipes is going to be one of the most important things you can do, particularly in those hard to reach places. So as far as interior spaces, your attic and your basement or even crawl spaces, those are going to be areas that are not heated as efficiently as the rest of your home, if they're heated at all. So you want to make sure that those are insulated with pipe insulation tubes or even tape. And then due to regional differences in construction, Georgia is going to be one of those states that likely do see a higher prevalence of piping on those exterior walls. So those are going to need some extra protection as well. Check on those, make sure you get those well insulated before those coldest temperatures arrive.
Yeah, I also think, when you talk about the outdoor spigots, they have those easy covers you can put on them. You can turn off the water to the exterior things. Don't forget the irrigation systems as well. All good things to think about. And when we're just below freezing here, we typically don't see the pipes bursting, but it's when we have several hours at night getting down at the teens and 20s that we unfortunately see those pipes bursting. Now, when we're getting into the holiday season and maybe you're going to go out of town, what are good reminders to make sure your house is prepared, even if we do step into those really cold temperatures?
Yeah, there's a few things that you're going to want to do to prepare your home in the event that you are going out of town. First and foremost, before you leave town, document what is in your house. You want to go walk through every single room in your house, take photos, a video with the location turned on is even better. You want to document the belongings that are in your house, and you want to especially get those big ticket items like appliances, and then you want to save this video and upload it to the cloud so that you can access it later. And the reason you want to do this is because if you're out of town and you do happen to have a burst pipe that causes damage, you have to be able to prove to your insurance company what was in your house and the condition that it was in. And this is going to allow you to quickly and efficiently be able to get a claim paid out if you need to do that. Couple of more things you need to do. Make sure you set your thermostat at a minimum of 55 degrees if you're going to be out of town. And the reason why is because this is going to be the minimum temperature you need your thermostat at to prevent your pipes from freezing when you're out of town. And if you're going to be out of town for an extended period, you might actually want to think about just turning your water off. You want to go to the main water shutoff valve, turn it off. And if you decide to do this, one really important thing you need to leave the faucets running on the lowest floor of your house. Make sure you flush that water out. And this is likely going to help prevent any pipes from freezing while you're out of town. So that's something that's really important. And another really important thing that homeowners need to actually know is where your main water shutoff valve is. We hear stories all the time where people do have pipes that freeze and then burst. The last thing you want to do is be running around your house trying to figure out how to turn the water off. Interior water damage is a big source of damage. It really amplifies the damage in your home. So go around now before the coldest temperatures set in, figure out where that main water shutoff valve is, and just know how to get to it and how to quickly turn the water off in the event that you do have a pipe freeze and burst this winter season. And if you decide to do this, leave the faucets running on the lowest floor of your house. Make sure you flush that water out. And this is likely going to help prevent any pipes from freezing while you're out of town.
Thank you, Rachel. And I know we've been pretty lucky here the last couple of years in terms of ice storms, but Georgia has seen some pretty prolific ice storms in the past. And one of the things we worry about with that are the trees, especially trees near the house. Are there good reminders of what people should do now to look for around your home before the winter months get underway?
Yeah, it's always a good time to walk around your house, look at any of those overhanging branches, particularly ones that overhang on your roof. Trim those back now if you can. And another really important thing and a really easy thing that homeowners can do is actually clean out the gutters. And the reason this is important, you want to clean those fall leaves out of the gutter so that any water that makes its way onto your roof this winter season, whether that's rain or melting snow, you want that water to be able to drain off of your roof into the gutter, down the downspout, and away from your home. If you don't, risk the possibility that that water freezes later and creates ice dams. Eventually those are going to melt, and we know that melting water can make its way through your roof deck and into your roof. So we call the roof the first line of defense here at IBHS. You want to protect your roof by trimming those branches back and cleaning out your gutters before any winter precipitation arrives.
Protecting that roof year round. Severe weather, hurricanes, and also winter weather. Rachel Gauthier with the Insurance Institute of Business and Home Safety. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We thank you so much for joining us for this 11Alive Plus special on wintry weather here in North Georgia. We'll be posting extended forecast outlooks on bigger impact systems right here on 11Alive Plus throughout the winter, which can help you make decisions on how to be prepared. If the thought of cold and snow gets you excited, we invite you to join our 11Alive Weather Impact Team Facebook group. This community has an inside look at wintry weather that may be heading our way, and it's also a place to share your photos and videos of the weather that impact us right here in North Georgia. Thanks for joining us.